5 slides. We'll just be talking you through it, maybe 15 minutes. We'll just walk you through the basics, and then we'll quickly open it up for an Ask Me Anything session. So as Deban said, it's very, very interactive. So just feel free to ask any of your questions. When one of us is talking, we'll make sure that the other one is looking at the chat for any particular questions. So yeah, just allow us a moment. We'll just share our screen. Okay, I think you guys can see the screen now. So let me just start it off. So the session is how to build your profile for the CAT 23 season. But some of you who might be targeting the CAT 24 season as well will find this relevant. Of course, some of the ideas and tips that we talk about will be relevant, will take some time to implement. So nothing happens. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so this will be relevant for the next 1 year as well. So CAT 24. So just a little bit about us. Maybe Milana, want to start off?
Yeah, sure. I think we might have to minimize this.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, great. Hi, everyone. So I'm Milana. I did my undergrad in mass media. And in terms of my extracurriculars, I've written 3 books. Remotely known, but I've written them. I'm a grade 6 pianist, and I founded an online community called DPD Humans. It's a mental health community, basically. And I used to work with The Economist. I was with the EIU for 20 months. And lately, I just finished my internship with Procter & Gamble. Up to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I am actually a lawyer by training. I am a 2020 graduate of ILS Law College in Pune, after which I had an 18-month stint in arbitration consumer law at Media Savvy. At IIM Ahmedabad, I interned at Tata Administrative Services in general management. So I just got off 2 weeks ago from that internship. And as far as extracurriculars are concerned, I'm also a pianist. I've done my grade 8. I have a C1 certification in the German language, and I've taught for 2 years as well. And just a few minor achievements here and there, but across various fields like, sports and drama and all your Olympiads that you have. So basically, we're both non-engineers. We understand the importance of profile building. And yeah, let's just take you through why you should start now. So I think one of the most relevant points for you should be the fact that over the last 10 odd years, there has been a reduction in the percentage of engineers which top B schools are taking in. And that is a reflection of market sentiment and recruiter sentiment in general, where your consulting firms and marketing firms, general management, PE, VC, IB are looking for people with various perspectives, and one of the guarantees of various perspectives getting onboarded is if you have people with diverse academic backgrounds. So when we talk about holistic evaluation, it's at 2 phases. So one is during the B school entrance itself, when they take your interview, and second is from the recruiter's point of view, whether it be in your summer internships or at the time of final placements. You want to walk us through the other ones, maybe?
Sure. So like Saurabh just mentioned, it is important that you start now, regardless of whether you're taking it in 23 or 24, because a lot of these things do not happen overnight. So you can't just come up with a hobby and master it overnight, right? So in order to get some level of in-depth understanding and to cultivate your own your innate ability in that subject, it takes time. So time becomes very important, and like, again, I think you've covered most of it, but setting yourself apart is very important, because there are 2 lakh students taking this exam every year, and a bunch of them get shortlisted. So in light of that, every B school wants to know what is it that you are bringing to the table. How are you going to add value to the classroom's discussion? So that becomes imperative.
Yeah, so just one point here. We are all going to be undergrads with some degree that is, shared by a lot of people. I'm not the only lawyer out there, but lawyers are few in B schools. although that trend is being reversed as well. So what I'm basically getting at is that it's not anymore just your academic background that sets you apart. It's really a granular aspect of who you are as a person. So what do you bring? Are you a good fit for the B school and for a potential recruiter? So there are a number of factors that B schools will be looking out for. There's less importance on your academic diversity because B schools will take care of that anyway. What you need to show a potential B school interviewer is how you are different from anybody else. So maybe it could be a unique combination of a couple of ordinary things. Like, I'm not the only person who might be playing piano. I'm not the only person who has done German certifications, but maybe the intersection of people who've done both piano and German is small enough to set me apart. Now, Milana, of course, she's an author, 3 books, and that automatically must be putting her in the top 0.1 percentile of people in the field of writing anyway. So basically what we're trying to say is that if there is something about you that stands out, it has two advantages. First of all, it makes the interview process a lot easier. There's something for the interviewer to talk about which you are comfortable with. And secondly, it makes your CV stand out as well. So it's not like a generic person who has, with whom you'll have every single kind of similarity. So that's why we do this thing called profile building. Now, at this point of time, we cannot change our academic backgrounds. We cannot change a lot, but we can change a few things which are in our control. So, Milan, I'll just maybe walk you through some things, some categories that you can use to build your profile.
Sure. So like you can see on the screen, we've broadly classified it into 6 buckets. So sports and arts, and you can read the rest. Now, starting with sports and arts, it's lovely if you have any national level or state level accomplishments. That is definitely going to be a big cherry on top of your cake. But don't be disheartened if you don't have such achievements, because it really because there's only so many folks who manage to get to the national level, right? What matters more, what is more important is what have you learned from each of these things. So whether it has taught you lessons in leadership or teamwork, and how has it made you a better person. So a lot of times, if you've continued with a sport for say 10 years, 15 years, it shows that you're actually very committed, and you stick to whatever passion or whatever, anything that you do, and you're going to continue with it. So it shows perseverance and resilience and all of those other things. Now, second is social impact. Social impact, I would say, is a low-hanging fruit, because this is something you can do within a short span of time. So even if you've got just 3 months in your hands, even if you volunteer just say over the weekends, it is going to be a great experience for you. And at the same time, it's also something lovely that you can talk about in your interviews. Because today, a B school is not just about manufacturing people who can be good managers. They're looking at people who have a holistic understanding of the world around them. With ESG and CSR and all of these, I think companies are moving towards a more socially responsible employee. So I think it's a good idea to sort of, I would personally, recommend this to everyone who can take this up. Do it in any area of your interest. So it could be teaching children, it could be, women's empowerment, it could be, say, helping people who are differently abled. So anything is possible, but the thing is, again, like I mentioned with sports and arts, what matters the most is what are you learning out of it and how is it making you a better leader. And internships and projects are again very important. Of course, you can't. Okay, so the first thing to remember is you can't put an internship on your IIMA profile, right? When you're submitting. Just kind of
so yeah, I mean, internships do not count as work.
Okay,
what
exactly.
what we're trying to say is that if you've logged, let's say, in your 4 years of engineering or in your 3 years of some other degree or 5 years of law, for example, if you've logged in, let's say, 9 months of internship, that is not counted by B schools as work experience. That will be a separate category of internships itself. Work experience means full-time paid after graduation employment.
Yeah.
So if you're a fresher, internships become that much more important. Nobody's saying that they don't carry any weight, but it's just saying that internships are not equivalent to WorkX.
Yeah.
So you could have, let's say, a variety of internships if you have a year in hand or something. So just to give you an example, in law, there are various fields of law. You have criminal law and arbitration, intellectual property law, family law, real estate, and so on. So if you have, just dipped your finger in a lot of these fields, that goes to show an overall development as far as, what you've tried out and learned goes. Same thing for projects as well. Um, just to give you some practical examples, for social impact, you can work with, let's say, an orphanage, or you can work with a society like Teach for India, who will, teach students. In terms of projects, also, there are CSR projects that a lot of companies, if you just pay attention on LinkedIn, they will ask you for them. But apart from that, also, you can do academic projects. Let's say, for example, you see something, a professor at a P school is calling for some assistance in, getting data for some project. So we've seen candidates who've done these projects, interview for B schools after cracking the CAT. So all of these kind of things are evaluated at the time, B schools prepare their shortlist. So that's what we mean by internships and projects specifically. So when we say projects, it could be the academic kind of project as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just walk through the other ones.
Sure. But I just wanted to add on to something that Saurabh just mentioned, which is that working with, say, a professor at some university or at an institute really gives you access to, firstly, it gives you networking benefits. And the second thing is, so actually in a class that we'd both taken, we saw an undergraduate student who was interning with one of our professors. So there are plenty of opportunities, and you don't have to have like a solid WorkX to have it. You just need to have a good understanding of your subject matter. So with that in mind, I think it would be lovely if you could actually intern with an IIM professor or any other top B school professor, because that gives you access to contacts. And of course, it's not going to change your chances of getting in, but it gives you a good insight into whether the place is a right fit for you, because you'll be on campus likely, and you will see people around you. You'll interact with people who are actually studying over there. So there are plenty of benefits on that front.
Yeah. So maybe talking about competitions. Competitions are a huge value add on your CV, because of the variety of experiences that competitions can give you, mold you as a person. So, your competitions could be something like what you might have in an engineering school, some robotics competitions, some fests that you might organize, positions of responsibility that you might take up. So event organization, positions of responsibility are very highly valued, for example. So let's say that you were the cell head of the event cell of the student body that got cultural fest done. Then that automatically is a boost on your CV. And of course, there can be all sorts of case competitions, or even before you join a B school, there are competitions like, for example, Procter and Gamble has
PGLP.
That's the
Unilever's young something
change
ULIP,
makers, change makers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of these competitions, they give you a very good in-depth insight on not just how the company works, but on industry specifics, on domain expertise. So all of these competitions as well, take part as much as you can. You maybe want to walk us through publications?
Sure, definitely. Yeah. So with publications, it could literally be anything. If you could have a research paper, you could have like a book in case you want to be, if you're into writing, you could have like written other bodies of literature in general. And how it really, what it reflects is your ability to think analytically and, to commit to something. Because often what happens is a lot of us write, but we don't finish our writing, right? So it actually shows perseverance. It shows that you can logically bring something to a conclusion. It enhances credibility, because obviously if you're writing about anything, it would mean that you have some degree of understanding in that subject. And again, you don't have to be writing like business books, or you don't have to be writing business articles for this. It could literally be in something that you did your undergrad in, or something that you're very passionate about. But again, it shows that it shows passion like anything. And one thing that's common across all the categories that we've mentioned is these help you in your own self-discovery journeys, which is very important when you sit for your interviews, because a lot of times they will ask you to talk about yourself, right? So when you know where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses lie, what is it that you're actually seeking, it makes for a much more well-informed and a well-rounded person. So there's clarity of thought that you present to the interviewer. So that becomes imperative. And lastly, with certifications, certifications can range from getting a CFA to doing a Microsoft Excel program. Now, of course, the weightages attached to each of them will vary, because a CFA will obviously have committed more time and will sort of, I think, have an edge also. I think that IIMK or something, they do give points, right?
Yeah, so IIMK definitely has, I think, like 10 more points in that round for
So
any kind of CA, CFA.
Yeah. So of course, that varies from institute to institute. All that said and done, I think certifications are a good way to sort of hone yourself for the B school experience. Because if you're good at Excel, or if you're good at CFA, I mean, if you've done a CFA course, I think it really gives you an upper hand when your course actually starts, because a lot of these subjects are very quant oriented. They're very financially well, they lean towards a lot of finance and stuff. So in terms of your overall experience, it's really going to help you, if not for the interview alone. Now, it enhances credibility and marketability. Now, here I'd just like to briefly digress and talk about online portals like, say, Coursera or edX. Okay, this is my personal opinion and maybe I'm biased, but I feel anybody can do those courses. That said, I'm not against you doing them. If you feel that is a skill that will really help you in your internship, in your overall journey to being a better leader, then you should definitely go for it. And you can also highlight it in your interview, actually. But try to pitch it less like having done a course, and try to pitch it more like what I learned from it, because your learning is what really matters at the end of the day. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think just in terms of certifications, IIM Ahmedabad itself has launched a lot of online courses on Coursera itself, but there's also online at IIMA. So it's a website which we'll recommend you, really go through. So a lot of the world-class faculty at IIMA has taken a lot of pains and a lot of years of research and just dedication has come through on that website. So doing a certification from there is definitely a 3 or 4 notches apart from doing something on Coursera or edX. So again, like Milana said, we don't mean to say that you shouldn't do something on Coursera, but it's just that it's a bit diluted in the sense that because it's open to everybody, and how relevant will it really be? So yeah, I think that being said, I think that's about it. So that's us outside the academic block at IIM Ahmedabad. We'll just open for questions now. So our monologue, so to say, is over. Yeah, I think
we can exit the.
Yeah, just 1 second. Let's just stop sharing the screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Anshuman has a question. So why don't you unmute yourself and go on?
Hello, everyone. So I have work experience in product-based company. Prior to that, I was an electrical engineer in a thermal power plant. So it's like a different. Previously, I was in an electrical engineering background, and then I shifted to techno-commercial profile. But the industry is energy industry itself, and will it be like I can show it as a diversified, profile in the interviews? Or should I change it to something else internally?
No, I don't think a change is required in your instance. See, because you have a rich experience, I wouldn't say that you need to make any kind of a sea change to your profile. So I think it's very interesting. In fact, for me at least, it was very interesting to hear, because I don't think that kind of a career path is very common in engineering field. Now, okay, of course, there are lots of people who are electrical engineers, but then to move from techno commercial and all. So I think that is enough to set you apart. But again, shouldn't stop you from trying even harder, because why not? The more you can set yourself apart, the better. But I think you're okay. And just one request, maybe we understand that you have very specific personal kind of queries, but if you all, for the purpose of this session at least, keep it restricted to something that a lot of other people can benefit from, that would be better. Because we'll give you our LinkedIn's, so you can connect with us for any kind of one-on-one later. But just one request, that if there's something that you want to ask, try to make it so that a lot of others can derive some value from it as well.
Yeah. My next two questions are maybe relevant to all others also. Actually, I am doing job, so taking part in the events of the organization. Will it be helpful to reflect it that since my extracurricular in the undergrad is not so good, I was not taking part in the events during my undergraduation. So will it be helpful to reflect my leadership quality or some kind of management skills to while I am taking part in the organization as a work experience along with the work?
I definitely think so, because in our batch we have a doctor, and she in her interview she talked a lot. I know this because she's a friend. She talked a lot about her experience during the COVID pandemic. Now, of course, it's not directly related to a B school in any way, but of course, it shows a lot of leadership. It shows about how you've handled conflict, how you worked with other people. So, if your extracurriculars at work, I know that's not a term, but if the extra work that you've done at work is showcases these abilities in you or any other abilities, I think you should definitely put it forth, because it is something that has shaped you into being who you are.
Okay, so basically it will not have any certificates, so that's why I'm asking.
No, but you can get CV points for it, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh.
from your approved from your manager or something.
Yeah.
And in terms of WorkX in general, if your company is invested in CSR relating to, let's say, the environment or something related to education, sustainability in general, taking active part in those will make a huge impact on your CV.
Yeah, I am involved with that also. But one more thing, that or if you have listened about the Robin Hood Army.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they did not provide certificates, and from last 3 months I am with them. So will it be relevant to keep going with them, or should I stop it?
It's the NGO, right? Robin Hood.
Yeah. It's NGO. But they did not provide any kind of a certificate for the work which we do on the weekends.
So certificates are required as proof of work done.
Yes.
So getting into a B school, the placecom over there will definitely ask you for proving every single point that you want to put in your CV. So, they go to a length of diligence that's not even seen in corporate. So if the proof is not going to be there, then perhaps I mean, now this is just an ethical dilemma, because I don't want you to stop doing what you do, but it's not going to make it on paper, most probably.
Yeah, my thoughts on this are that in terms of a placement process thing, I absolutely agree with what Saurabh is saying. But in terms of getting into a B school to start off, I think you could continue. Again, see, you cannot claim that that's WorkX, but if you have, if this Robin Hood Army has given you an opportunity to actually manage people, it's something you can talk about in your interview, because it's an experience that you can leverage. So that's a decision that you have to make at the end of the day. But we're just showing you what the pros and cons are of continuing or not continuing.
Yeah. So just before I take the next question, there's something in the chat. So Siddesh, what I'd just advise you is to just reach out to me personally, because that's a personal question. But your second part of it was more relevant. So for every single, so the question is, do we have to provide certificates for all the POR/competitions in IIM interviews? So in the interview stage, it's you can just provide a certificate as such. You don't need to provide very rigorous proofs. But once you make it to a B school, the placecom will vet and verify every single document that is relevant, and they'll go to great depths to make sure that what you are claiming is valid. So as far as that goes, at the time of the interview, maybe some schools will or will not ask you for documents at all. but some of them will. But during the placement or for the purposes of making and freezing your CV, they will all ask for documents. Yeah, we'll just take Yatin's question and then I'll go back to the chat. Yeah, Yatin, you can just unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, Saurabh. So, Saurabh, how relevant is profile building for executive residential MBA from IIMs?
Okay, so how much work ex do you have?
5 years of experience.
Come again?
5 years.
Okay, 5 years. Yeah, so I think in an executive program, at least the one which we have here, the PGPX is what it's called, your work ex will have primacy. There is an average work ex of around 4.5 years for that batch. So yes, definitely, it's still relevant. I'll tell you why, because again, a lot of people have 4 or 5 years of work ex. So again, what sets you apart from them, right? Of course, over 5 years, you will have a pretty unique work experience in one way. But then again, maybe everybody's done brand marketing. So if you've done brand marketing, just as an example, there'll be 10 others who are competing with you, and maybe they only want to take 2 or 3 of them. So of course, it helps in that respect as well. How do you set yourself apart? So when we talk about profile building in general, what we are saying is that whatever you are doing has to be a value addition, not just for you, but for the person who has to take you into the institution, and then furthermore to the person who has to recruit you. B schools themselves will see how marketable you are, for the lack of a better word. So again, the importance never ceases as such. Yeah, just couple of questions in the chat, and then I'll come to you, Yash. Yeah. Milana, maybe you want to take this up?
Sure. So the question says, hi, I'm a startup founder. However, it's in its nascent stage and it's not fully fledged. It's not a fully fledged working company. Will I be able to include this profile as my work ex? You'll have to help me a little bit on this, because if it's a registered startup, I think you definitely can show it as an organization, right?
I think the rules will differ from institution to institution, okay. But so there are definitely provisions for people who run their own business. So you don't need certifications from your employer because you're self-employed, of course. Yeah. But there are certain documents, like if your company is registered, that definitely goes a long way. You have to be a director, and again, so those kind of things are there. We're not super familiar with that, but because there are only like 3 or 4 cases in the entire batch who come like that. But yeah, it will definitely be counted as work ex, provided that you can show the documentation for that stuff.
Yeah, as long as it's registered. That's why I was actually
yeah, it should be registered. I mean, see, so I said, right, I've been teaching German for 2 years. But the problem is, because I was teaching, I only have things like, fee receipts or something like that, which is not enough to prove the existence of my teaching endeavor. So I wasn't able to put that in my CV, but I think running a formal business is much more fun.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think you should be worrying about that. If it's a registered company, it's all good. The next question is from Prajay Reddy. I don't have any extracurricular or achievements. How to fill the gap in the interview and placements? See, if you feel that you don't have anything that you can put on your CV as of now, I would highly urge you to look at opportunities like internships and volunteering. Now, the thing is, even if you decide to take up the piano, there's only so much that you can do in like 6 months, right? Or 1 year. You can't, and claiming to be a grade 1 pianist, it doesn't have that much weightage as having volunteered at some place and having made an impact to lives might have. So like I mentioned earlier also, it's a low-hanging fruit, volunteering and internships, and they teach you a lot. So it's not just from a profile standpoint. I'm saying even in terms of your holistic development, I think it gives you an edge over the others. So I would highly recommend you to look for freelancing opportunities, internships, volunteering, etc.
Yeah, so there's a channel called Nidhi Nagori. So she provides a lot of opportunities in terms of, you can work with the government for a stipend for a month or 2. There are live projects here and there. So you can find her on Instagram. So I found her organically as well through my brother-in-law. So there are a lot of these people who will guide you to, the next place that you can work on building your profile. Before we get to more questions in the chat, I'll just come to you, Yash. Yatin, we'll just push your question for later. Okay? Want to just make sure that the others also are heard.
Sure.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. I just wanted to know if, like, for example, I'm also trying to keep my question relevant to others, so I will not go into much detail as to where I am. But the two facets of my questions are key. Is work experience necessary for, like, in my mental plan of my life, I appear for CAT right out of college. So and I have no support system or like a system of mentors to guide me through the whole process. And I mentioned that because all my friends who aspire to graduate from IIMs, they do. So I'm not aware of where I stand as far as work experience is concerned. And the second part is that I am a person of many interests. So for example, in my first year of college, I'm just moving into my second year of college. And in my first year of college, I worked in films. I worked in a government internship. I worked with the professor of environmental economics. I was an assistant for a month. And so I like a lot of things, and I let myself delve deep in whatever I like. And my reasoning for thinking about doing an MBA is that I feel that doing an MBA empowers you and enables you to, like, make an actual impact in whatever field you feel connected to. So for example, even if I still feel connected to films, then doing an MBA would enable me to bring whatever I have in mind to actuality, and through that improve lives or make an impact, however unquantifiable it may be. Yeah, that.
Yash, I think we're losing track of your question. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want me to repeat? Like, I can shorten it and make
No,
it.
I think you said that basically you're interested in a lot of things. So
yes. So how is diversity measured? Keeping that in mind, like, is it only formal degrees that I am from a diverse degree? Like, I come from economics, so it's very basic. I'm studying economics from Jamia, BA honors in economics. So that's very simple. But how is diversity measured? Is it measured also in terms of what I have been doing through college?
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, so and is there a quantifiable way, or do I, like, have to mention it in interviews and simply talk about it to have it noticed?
You will have to talk about it in the interviews. Now, the thing is, when you've taken the CAT and when colleges are making shortlists as to whom to call for the interview process, over there, they look at quantifiable metrics of diversity. Now, this would be your undergraduate score, your undergraduate discipline score, 10 score, 12 scores, what else? If you have any certifications like CA, CFA, you've done a professional course. So whether you're a doctor, engineer, whatever, and then they assign different weights to each of them. If you're a woman or you're from a particular community or whatever. So then they do a weightage of all of that, and each institute has its own calculation. So you'll have to go onto their website and check it. At IIMA, we have certain categories called AC 1, 2, 3, and it goes on. So I know for a fact that my category, which is mass media, comes in a category called AC 6. Now AC 6 has people from who've done literature, fashion design, other forms of design, etc. So you are pooled with that category, and then you are your performance is evaluated from that pool of people. So to make the first cut, I think your quantifiable diversity becomes very important. But once you come to the interview stage, you can definitely talk about your varied interests. It sounds great. It looks good, and I think people really appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's just take a few questions from the chat. So quickly addressing the topic of gap year, I think this might help a lot of you. So we have a friend here who's done around 4 years of gap years, in pursuit of UPSC. So of course, if you can justify the gap year, and UPSC in particular is a understandable and a justifiable one, then there should be no problems. See, technically I also have a bit of a gap in the sense that my degree is backdated to April, but I only got my exam marks in October, so work started in November, right? So this is during COVID 2020. So technically that's a gap, but that's a very well justified gap because my exams didn't actually happen till October, even though the degree says April. So if you can justify the gap year, that's not going to be a problem. There are people here with gap years as well. In the incoming batch also, there have been people with many gap years. You can take a gap year for CAT preparation as well. That's valid. The only thing is make sure you can justify it. And then I think you're good to go. Again, a few questions here. Marketing courses. I guess the best way to do for marketing is there are a few extensive courses which you can find out online at IMA, as well as maybe if you can just get major certifications. So here again, I wouldn't say Coursera exactly, but you can work with professors in, let's say, data collection, surveying, sampling of people. So that's how you can demonstrate a marketing kind of tilt. The other thing you can do is read up a lot on marketing, because if you say that this is your interest, then you will be questioned on it. So everything that you say in an interview, you will be questioned on it, and you better be ready to justify it, basically. Okay. Anita, I think your question is personal, so we can just connect maybe over LinkedIn. And yeah, Niketana, the short answer to your question is yes. They would add a lot of significant value, as we've been saying. So yeah, again, let's just go back to
Bhaskar, maybe.
yeah, Bhaskar, and then Sachin, and then we'll come back to the chat.
Okay, yes. Hi everyone.
Yeah, hello.
Bhaskar here. So yeah, I have a very generic question. Suppose should we focus more on our profile per se? Like say I'm a computer science engineer. So while during the interviews, should I focus more on let's say I'm interested in product management as a career going forward. So should I speak more surrounding that, or should I talk in general terms? Like will my speaking of only related to tech and all, will that hinder my chances of getting in or something?
See, there are two facets to your question. One is that there is only so much that you can control in an interview. Okay, the course of the interview, as much as you will try to steer it in your direction, will sometimes end up going elsewhere if the interviewer sort of steers it in that direction. That said, I would say that whatever is unique to you, that is what you should be focusing on. So whatever is unique and whatever you know very well, because even though I mentioned that you have only X amount of autonomy in it, you still have that autonomy, right, to sort of still control the interview. So what I did is I spoke a lot about my books. So of course, this is again a place where I can't go wrong because it's my book. I know it better than anybody else, right? So like that, whatever is unique to you, it could be a subject matter for that matter. But if you feel you are excellent at it, then focus more on that. If you feel you have a personal life story which is going to be, which has a wow moment, then please go ahead with that. So it's a call you have to make, but focus on what makes you unique.
Just to maybe answer that more technically, I think in B-School interviews, they want clarity. Right. So if you are very clear on product management, then it's good to display it. You cannot just say in a B-School interview that, I will figure it out after I get in. That's not, looked at very kindly. You need to demonstrate a clarity, a vision that you have for yourself. And then the follow-up questions may be many, like, okay, so how does our institute help you get where you want? So, you need to be thorough with your WorkX / your undergrad syllabus in totality, because that's one area of questioning. And then when they ask you what you want to do, then you need to make sure that you can justify product management. Like, why do you want to do product management? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or things like, how can you contribute in product management? So all those kind of things are very important. So you have to have a defendable vision, so to say. Yeah. Okay, so just a few more questions from the chat. Yeah, so Sachin, I'm not sure what you mean. So maybe we can just connect later about that. Let me just take some more. So, okay, the question is, how do interviewers give marks? We are not privy to the process. So it is never revealed. Whatever you know is only a result of speculation, which may or may not be true. But what I can tell you is this, that if you are called for an interview, you have just as much a chance of getting in as anybody else. So, we do have people here at IIMA with, let's say, 93, 94 percentile as well, who really had the best of interviews. Of course, that is facilitated by a lot of other factors like very strong work ethics and so on. But what I'm just trying to say is that once you're given the equal platform of an interview, then you can be sure that you don't have to work harder than anybody else at the start. So it's just an equalizer, that interview. So none of us can be sure about how they give marks. But of course, if you're called for it, then you have an equal chance. At that point, it doesn't matter if you're a gem or not. Right. But of course, as we all know, it's well known that for a gem, you need a higher cutoff to be called for the interview in the first place. So there's pre-interview and there's at the interview stage. So yeah. So Roshit is asking, does an unpaid internship in advertising and marketing have any value?
See, you're being paid or not paid is not of any consequence when it comes to the interview stage, right? Because like we mentioned earlier, an internship is an internship. It can't be counted as a work ex. But again, if they're giving you a certificate and if you feel like you've learned something, you've contributed in a big way, it is great. You can talk about it in your interview. I think the fundamental point that we're trying to nail home here is that whatever you do, whether it's a hobby, whether it's an internship or volunteering or whatever, what are you learning from it and how does it make you a better version of yourself? That's what you need to project in the interview.
Yeah, again, Siddharth, your question is pretty specific, so maybe we'll take it in a while. Sachin, I'll just come to you. Let me just answer a few more questions from the chat. So maybe you want to take Anshuman's question? Yeah.
Anshuman says, can we show hobby like poetry as an extracurricular? Like I have a video on YouTube, but not a poetry book. Definitely. I mean, you can be, we have a YouTuber actually in our batch. He does motivational videos or something. And he got in, right? I have a YouTube channel of my own, like no one watches it, but it exists. So again, you can show that as a thing that you're passionate about. But again, it helps if you have a lot of followers, if you have like a verified YouTube account or something. But even if you don't, you can still mention it, and you can. So the thing is, you weave your achievement in such a way that they feel like, okay, this is something that others can't get. So yeah, just try to weave it and sugarcoat it, and sugarcoat is the wrong word, but kind of project it in a way that makes you stand out in a good way.
Okay, Sachin, if your question is not generic, can you just unmute yourself and ask? Otherwise, you can just feel free to connect. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, hi.
I am pursuing BCom, completed in my second year. I completed my graduation in 2024. I attend CAT. I not giving CAT exam in 2024. I given CAT exam 2024. For I am no good academics. I interested in finance for related profile.
Okay.
Gap year. I completed.
We're losing you actually.
Yeah, I
can't
think,
hear you properly. Network issues.
Yeah, maybe there's a network issue. But from what I gathered, perhaps you want to know, how you can build a profile that's curated for finance. Now for finance, I think because you're doing a BCom, that's a good starting place, obviously. Try to get your certifications in. A CFA is more important than ever now. In addition to that, I think a good work-ex is required, because we do have freshers, but the trend is around, I think 20 to 25% of the batch has absolutely zero work experience. So that trend is falling slightly. So there will always be people with no work experience. I think this answers one of the questions in the chat as well. But there is definitely a trend that favors work experience as we go ahead. So if you look at statistics for IIM Ahmedabad, I mean, these are just informal statistics, so don't quote us on it. But the average work-ex here is around, for my batch, around 22 months. And the incoming batch has a higher, I think, 25 months. Before the batch senior to us had a lower work-ex than us as well. So there's definitely a trend overall to favor work-ex. And let me just tell you, it makes sense, because if you sit in an MBA classroom without work-ex and all these cases relating to organizations and organizational decisions are being played out in front of you, you will not be able to have that insider view which is required. That being said, the perspective of a fresher is a fresh perspective, if I might say so. So you'll always have freshers, but the trend is what it is. Again, Pritika asks, how can we find volunteer opportunities which add more value?
LinkedIn is full of opportunities. I got my job through LinkedIn. So if I could get a job, you can get a volunteering thing for sure. So just be active, keep a lookout for jobs, and
ask for jobs.
Ask for jobs. You know, just if you have a favorite organization or a dream organization, just write to them. A lot of times they're looking for free labor. So if you're volunteering, you're technically, most likely to be paid nothing, right? But it's the experience that matters. So if you get, it's easy to get one. Just don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, and if you don't have any extracurricular achievements at this point of time, that's okay. See, you have time. Maybe some of you are attempting CAT 24 as well. So there's definitely a lot of time for you to, start, because everyone starts somewhere. Nobody is going to hold it against you for being a late bloomer, but people will hold it against you if you refuse to bloom. Okay, so that, I mean, you don't have to show years worth of achievement, but perhaps what they're looking at is something in your personality that shows spark and dedication. So if you have if you have resilience, if you have initiative and enterprise, so these are some of the qualities that will really get the panel interested in you and your profile. So the overarching theme of something extracurricular is not just setting you apart, but displaying who you are, right? So yeah, that's what I would say. In sort of expanding yourself through extracurricular activities, make sure that they align with who you are. Don't just do something for the sake of a certificate as such, because you will not be able to sustain it if your heart's not in it. I think one last question is there in the chat. Do they ask for what specialization we are interested in? Definitely. They definitely ask this question. Like I was saying previously, you don't want to go in an interview and not be able to tell them what your future plans look like. So even if you don't have something prepared, right? Even if you are not sure, and of course you're even allowed to change your mind after, make sure you have something to tell them. Like, don't say that I will say general management or marketing or consulting, because that just shows you're all over the place. What you want to convey is that, you have clarity. You can change your mind, but in an interview, it looks really bad when you say that, so imagine you've done so well in an exam, cracked the exam. Now you're sitting in front of an interview panel. They're expecting a lot of things from you, and then what they first see is that this person does not have clarity. So at least prepare an answer. Even if you don't believe in it fully, just prepare an answer, because you cannot go underprepared like that.
Just cook with conviction. Cook it up with conviction. That's all.
Yeah. Vishnu, CMP, it's good enough to get a basic hold of it for sure. And I think in the interview stage, they will not expect more than that. But if you say something like you work with a professor under this vertical in this domain and in e-diagnostics, for example, then you will be questioned more. But I think CMP is a good base at least. Shruti's question relates to certifications like CFA, CA. You can just start, no?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my batchmates have given their CFA this year and gotten their certificates. So you can at least start.
Yeah, and if nothing, if you can show your undergraduate, I mean, if you depends on what you did your undergraduation in. Has she mentioned it?
Not that I can see, it must have
Okay.
gotten lost.
All right,
A lot
okay.
of messages. We're
Okay,
sorry.
okay. So in case you have a background in something related to finance, you can show your grades in that subject. If you did a BBA for, just as an example, and if you had a finance component in it, you can just talk about how that stirred your interest in the subject, how you did well, or what you learned out of it. That's like the baseline in case you can't do what Saurabh is saying, which is, start with getting the CFA or something.
Okay. Just a few other questions. So guys, if you have any more questions, please just hold on to them for now. We are reachable through LinkedIn. We'll put the LinkedIn profile links also. But we just have like 5 or 6 more questions, which will probably take up the time that we have remaining in answering them. So let's just quickly troubleshoot a few of these
Sure.
questions.
So Anshuman says more than 3 years experience with average background will hinder the chances of get into IIMs. Of course not. If you have more experience, then that just is it's an asset at the end of the day, right? Of course, you will be asked one question, which is why do you want to do an MBA after 3 years of work? But that's a question that you can easily handle. It's nothing to be fazed by. And we have some people who have like 5 years of work and they're doing extremely well. So don't let that bog you down. What matters is how what you learned out of it and how you project it.
Yeah, and again, like to answer one question, taking time off for preparing for CAT is not going to be a problem at all. So a lot of people do take time off, do leave their jobs, fully dedicate themselves to preparing for CAT. So that's not difficult to justify. The professors also understand, those who conduct your interview and so on. Siddesh, I'd strongly suggest you do get on LinkedIn because it's must have at this point of time. So just for networking in general. I'm uncomfortable providing my email because it's already got a lot of spam, but sure, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just look up my name and it's the only option that comes up.
What is a safe option to say as a specialization in an interview as a fresher?
That's difficult.
It depends on what you did your undergrad in, For me, it's easy because I did it in media and I majored in advertising. So for me, marketing made sense. Now, again, if you've done a BBA and you specialized in something like some institutes offer, you can talk about that. Like I have a friend who majored in marketing and she spoke about it in her IMK interview. So it is completely subjective. If you're an engineer, you can tap into your internships maybe and look at how any of these, whatever domain you interned in, you can use that as a peg. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, Yatin, we are not... we're not experts on the GMAT. We never wrote the GMAT. Did you?
No. And I think if you have to do an MBA from an IIM through GMAT, you have to be an NRI or something. I don't think IIMs accept.
To get into the PGP program, definitely this thing. But for PGPX, GMAT, yes.
GMAT works. Yes, you're right.
So we are not the right people for it, but I'm sure that Deban or the Inside IIM team can help you get there. So yeah, let me just type out our names once again. You can just type these names. I mean, we don't even have to post a link because we're the only people under this name. So, oh, hang on. I think I was sending it just to one person. Yeah, I think Deban is doing it. Thank you so much. Yeah. So he's just linking our LinkedIn profiles. Yeah, so awesome. Thank you, Deban. Those are our profiles, guys. You can just maybe feel free to follow, ask any queries. Do allow us some time to get back to you because it's very hectic.
Yeah.
But that being said, we'll do our best to help.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Thank you for spending your Sunday with us. And
I mean, we didn't realize it was a Sunday actually.
Yeah, we
but
have classes. I actually have a class in 40 minutes. So have to head.
yeah. Okay, I think maybe because we have 2 minutes, let's just take Anshuman's one
Yeah, sure,
question.
sure.
Yeah, Anshuman, go ahead.
Yeah, hello. My one thing that right now I am living in Udaipur and I am Udaipur exist. So can I directly interact physically with the professors and get their guidance, or like along with the job I can do their task so that it would be add on, or will it be ethical or not ethical?
I don't think there's a question of ethics here as such. If
No,
the
I mean,
professor
if the professor agrees to work
yeah,
with you,
yeah,
yeah.
then why not?
But don't just drop into their office,
Yeah, yeah.
unannounced.
Yeah,
Like reach out to them over LinkedIn,
yeah.
explain to them your background, and maybe if he or she agrees, then why not?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank
Shalo, I think we'll sign off now.
Yes.
And
Good
if
luck.
just connect with us on LinkedIn. We'll do our best to kind of help you in any way we can.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Shalo. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Saurabh and Milana. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Devan, for organizing this, and thank you guys for attending. Take care.
Bye-bye.